I feel really grateful to be here. So good morning. I am Vanessa, the daughter of Annette, who was the daughter of Olympia, who was the daughter of Melvina, who was the daughter of Katie. And I intentionally start there by calling the names of the women who came before me into this space to honor that they survived systems of oppression and mass incarceration so that I could stand here today and have this conversation. I call the names of those women into this space to honor them and think that they could have never imagined that I would stand here talking right after the guy who invented the internet and but they could have imagined. And in fact, I believe that it is a direct correlation to their desires and manifestations that I stand here today. I'm standing here at the Kennedy Center. We are about 150 miles away from the eastern shore of Maryland where this photo was taken. The eastern shore of Maryland, for those who do not know, is where the great Harriet Tubman was born. It is also where she left around this time of year, the fall of 1849, on her first escape. She walked almost 90 miles on that first journey across the northern border into Delaware in search of her freedom. This picture is a part of the GirlTrek team at the time, around 6 years ago, in search of inspiration for the work that we do. And so we traveled to the eastern shore of Maryland to retrace Harriet Tubman's footsteps. We walked the Underground Railroad from her home on the eastern shore to Delaware. We didn't anticipate that a once-in-a-lifetime nor'easter would be bearing down on us, but it did. And people ask, why did you do that? Walk 100 miles on the Underground Railroad. Why Harriet Tubman? Why her story? The story of Harriet Tubman more than 15 years ago brought me and one of my dear friends, Morgan, together in conversation. I was working in digital media at CNN and Morgan was in education reform. We were two Black girls, one of the first in our families to go to college, making $50,000 each, which was more money than most women had ever made in our families, and feeling like complete and utter failures. This could not be it, we kept telling ourselves. This narrow entryway that the world was providing us into success, where our grandmothers wouldn't be able to walk through, where our aunties wouldn't be able to walk through, where our cousins wouldn't be able to walk through. That injustice was too much for us to bear. And so we started talking about what would solutions look like to broaden up the invitation of who in this country was invited to live their healthiest, most fulfilled life. And those conversations centered around Harriet Tubman and around that 90-mile walk. And we told ourselves that if Harriet Tubman could walk herself to freedom, then certainly Black women could walk themselves away from every single thing that has been and was killing us. And so we started to talk and we started to organize around the idea of GirlTrek. GirlTrek is now 1.3 million Black women around the country who walk daily wearing these blue shirts out of their front doors to inspire their daughters, reclaim their health, and bring about a revolution. Yes, thank you. We teach all of those women the Tubman doctrine. The Tubman doctrine has 4 parts. The first is the most important. It's never ask permission to save your own life. Harriet Tubman, on that first journey to freedom, went to her husband and she went to her brothers and she said, I know the way, let's go. And they were scared. These men scared. And so she left them. And on that first journey, she traveled alone. And we tell Black women who are dying at higher and faster rates than any other group in this country from chronic disease. That's more than HIV, AIDS, gun violence, and smoking combined. It's 138 Black women who will die today from heart disease. I want you to imagine the airplanes that you flew on to get here. Imagine that an airplane every single day of Black women is going down. Black women who have been the loving care providers of this country since its inception, going down day by day and nobody talking about it. And so we go into community with those women and we tell them, stop asking for permission, stop waiting for sidewalks, stop waiting for the healthcare system, don't wait for the policy to come, just go now, today, like Harriet did. And then we tell them the second part of that Tubman doctrine. But when you know the way, like Harriet did, you must come back and get a sister. And that's GirlTrek's organizing principle. And so every single day, women who are walking in the direction of their best life and catching their breath for the first time and finding their stride amidst a world that feels hostile, start to get their rhythm and find the way, and then they go back and they reach back for another sister, and they organize crews, and they organize their neighborhoods, and they organize their friends and their families to start walking to save their own lives. Harriet Tubman traveled on a sophisticated network, the Underground Railroad, made possible by allies like you in this room. And so we tell women that any health revolution will require us at some point to rally our allies, to look for the co-conspirators, to walk side by side with people who may not look like us, but who believe in our leadership and who believe in the possibilities of our lives. And so we do that in neighborhoods all across the country. And we teach a Trek code in GirlTrek. When we walk, we say hi to our neighbors. When we walk, we don't clog the sidewalk, we single file and smile. When we tell a woman that we're going to meet her for a walk, we say the GirlTrek time is 7 minutes early, always on time, so that she knows somebody is going to be there with her, rain or shine. And we have traveled across the country teaching these tenets to women, one by one, walk by walk, person by person, as they connect. And as these women start to walk in their neighborhoods, they start to talk to their neighbors. They start to learn about what's happening in their communities. They start to be inspired by what is possible and what can be changed. And then they do the last and fourth and most important part of that Tubman doctrine, which is to find joy. Harriet Tubman lived to be 95 years old. She lived for over 50 years as a free woman in Auburn, New York. She adopted children. She remarried. She created a home for the elderly. And we tell women that our service cannot just be in the service of the movements who are not in service of us, but that joy is our birthright and that we find it at the intersection of justice. And for over 10 years now, as we have been building this movement of Black women, we have also been asking ourselves, what is it that is making them sick? How can we document that? And we've come up with something called the 3 I's. We know for a fact, having now rallied 1 million women, been all across the country and the world to talk to them, that there are 3 things that are killing us. The first is inactivity. 2/3 of Black women get little to no leisure time activity, and most of those Black women will tell you they do not have leisure time. Black women make 54 cents to the dollar of white men, are the caregivers for multi-generations in their household. And at the end of the day, the idea of sport and recreation and walking and running, it can feel soul crushing. So inactivity. The second thing that's killing them, it's isolation. Even in communities crowded with people, Black women are disconnected from the resources and the help that they need. And COVID only amplified that for everybody. How loneliness, deadlier than cigarette smoking, when we are disconnected, is killing us and impacting us. And Black women are crying out from every part and corner of this world, telling us to please listen, please see me. The third thing that's killing them, injustice. We're walking in neighborhoods with no sidewalks, in neighborhoods where we're frightened and fearful of walking outside of our front doors because of gun violence, where when we do walk, there's no grocery store or point of place to walk to, where there's no green space, where urban heat fields are crushing down on us, where the healthcare system refuses to give us health care, where the criminal justice system is incarcerating us at higher and faster rates than any other group also. And yet GirlTrek is standing here full of hope and possibility, because 10 years of walking and talking together has taught us, has affirmed for us that we are the ones we have been waiting for. And so we have started to solve for those 3 challenges with 3 powerful solutions. How do you solve for inactivity? We walk. It is the single most powerful thing a person can do for their health. It is something that you can do intergenerationally. It is something that women in our community do with their children and their mothers, with their partners and their friends. They walk together. It is spiritually uplifting. It is mentally clarifying. And it reduces their chances for heart disease and strokes and diabetes by over 50% across the board in almost every category. And we inspire women to walk with fun and amazing campaigns like the Daughters of, which is how I just introduced myself, in a popular viral podcast called Black History Bootcamp, which you can find on Spotify or all the other podcast channels, where you can walk and talk with us as we talk about Black history. And we innovate in the space of walking, acknowledging that women want to walk with other people. The second thing that we're solving for is isolation. GirlTrek solves for that by talking. We walk and talk together. In communities, in small little groups, 2 women. Sometimes in big communities, 50 women out on a Saturday. Across DC or Virginia, like you saw on that trail. And we walk and talk in our superhero blue because we believe we are the superheroes of our communities. And intentionally, as a brand promise, we said we want our joy to be bright, for little Black girls to open up their window and to see new models that they have never seen before in their communities, modeling for them what health looks like. So we walk and talk. And then that third I, injustice, we solve for that by solving problems together. GirlTrek has trained over 10,000 women in person to be organizers around this country. Those women organize to bring built infrastructure to those communities. Those women organize to bring safety to the communities. Those women organize care crusades when their children are in crisis, when gun violence has rung out, when they're experiencing job loss, when they're lonely. Women put out SOSs. We organize around national issues together. We educate around policy. And we deploy women right to the doorsteps of other women so that we can walk, talk, and solve problems together. Across the country, our supporters have looked like Oprah Winfrey and Michelle Obama and, all of the amazing people that you could imagine. But the most important people in our movement are the little girls and the little boys who get to imagine a new world of spaciousness and community connection, and who get to walk and hear the wisdom of their grandparents, and who get to learn whose footsteps they walk in. We say we're creating a new civil rights legacy. Today, we are now with 1 million Black women looking to the horizon, the next frontier of this movement. And we have committed a bold and audacious new plan to increase the life expectancy of Black women around the globe by 10 years, in 10 years. It will require every single piece of knowledge that we have gathered, every expert that we have talked to, from Harvard to Duke to Stanford, every organizing model that we have studied, from Gandhi and the salt marches to Mandela and what happened in Soweto. It will require every single piece of goodwill for the people who come into communities like that to see the humanity in Black women and believe that, yes, we do deserve to live as long as our Asian sisters who live 10 years longer than we do, and our white sisters who live 9 years longer than we do, that we are deserving of that. And so I come into communities like this and places like this, and I spread the gospel of GirlTrek, hoping that it ignites something in all of us. That the next time that you lace up your sneakers and walk outside for a walk and you see a Black woman, I just want you to imagine what it is that she overcame just to take that simple radical step, just to carve out those 30 minutes of time for herself, which is what we ask women to do. Just to rally the internal spirit against every single thing, every single day that is trying to kill her, so that she can take a walk in the direction of her best life. And I end by saying thank you, by inviting all of you to connect with us at #GirlTrek and at GirlTrek. It is the most vibrant online community across any social media platform that might be your favorite. Every single day you can log on and search the hashtag, and you will see women from DC and Oakland and Jackson, Mississippi and Houston and Denver sharing stories, sharing testimonies. And I invite those of you who have the technical expertise, the financial resources, the organizing prowess to partner with us. Imagine what will happen when GirlTrek grows from 1 million Black women, which is 7% of the population right now of Black women, to next year 10% of the population of Black women. Imagine what happens when women around the world who aren't Black start to pick up our organizing model and walk, talk, and solve problems together in their own neighborhoods and communities. Imagine what happens when, as we're talking about artificial intelligence, we continue to prioritize and center community connection and wisdom as a solution to our problems. I imagine the possibilities are endless. They excite me, they inspire me, and I hope they do for you as well. Thank you for having me.